Michelle Lowry thought she was investing in government and bank bonds when she lost $750,000 of her life savings.
You know, I was just starting to move forward after the death of my husband, and this has just, put me right back there, stress-wise, anxiety, everything. It's just myself, and I've got my 3 kids, and, this money was going to help us have our lifestyle together, build ourselves back together, and that's been taken away from me now.
A bank transfer receipt for $750,000 sent in December for government bonds from a widow still finding her footing after burying her husband is where this story starts. That receipt was the last piece of paper that made any sense before everything fell apart.
Investment scams are the #1 way that Australians are losing money in terms of scams.
Not pickpockets, not card skimmers, not fake lotteries, but bond schemes targeting people doing exactly what a responsible adult is supposed to do with their savings. Tonight, you will see exactly how it works, how it survives accountant verification, how it outlasts bank safeguards, and what happens when a 75-year-old man actually tried to stand on a street corner and force a scammer to show up in person.
I feel like I've been responsible for trying to sort my life out now, and it's just put me back in the biggest hole.
She wasn't chasing a windfall. She was online looking for term deposits, one of the most cautious investment vehicles that exists, when she found a website for EQR Securities, a company offering government and bank bonds with a clean layout, a listed ASIC registration number, and an Australian Financial Services license number attached.
I checked out that they were a registered company with ASIC and they had an Australian Financial Securities license number. I gave the information to my accountant as well, and for him to verify the legitimacy of the purchase of the bonds and the company.
The accountant came back satisfied because the license number was real. It just belonged to a completely different, legitimate company the scammers had cloned to dress their front. That's the part that should stop you. Cold. The due diligence worked perfectly. It just landed on borrowed credentials, and nobody outside the fraud operation had any way to know the difference. So, in December, Michelle walked into her local bank and transferred $750,000 to an account EQR Securities had provided, and for a brief, stomach-dropping window, it looked exactly like a real investment had been made.
I had communication then saying that EQR Securities, which is the company that were buying the bonds on my behalf, received the funds and that I could log into a portal and find my receipts online. I logged in once, and then after that I couldn't seem to get in.
She contacted Will Hughes, the British accented man she had been dealing with at EQR Securities, and he kept her waiting, kept her reassured, kept the conversation alive while the bond coupon dates came and went. By May, 5 months after the transfer, she was still calling, still getting non-answers, still being strung along, and then the website disappeared, the phone number disconnected, and Will Hughes was simply gone, along with every trace that EQR Securities had ever existed.
I kept asking Will Hughes, which was the name of the man at EQR Securities I was dealing with.
Will Hughes is a name we've heard before. Jody Bridges, who we interviewed in May, lost $500,000 in a similar scam and was also duped by a man called Will Hughes who had a British accent.
But here's what makes that name, Will Hughes, so much worse than just a fake identity. Jody Bridges had already been through this exact scenario, and she had already given that name to investigators months before Michelle's money ever moved. Jody lost $500,000 through the same EQR Securities front, handled by the same British accented man using the same alias, and the phone call that captured him at his most brazen is genuinely hard to listen to.
The money is, you are fully safe. Okay, I wouldn't. If there was something untoward this, I wouldn't even bother calling you back, Jody. Your money is absolutely fine, and it is being recalled.
That call was made while the money was already gone. The The trap was not closing. It had already closed. He was just keeping her calm while she stood inside it. And while Michelle and Jody were both caught in the EQR Securities operation, a third case was unfolding through a different front, a fake bond comparison website called Savings Connection that almost didn't become a case at all.
I tried to ring him and said, well, what's going on? It's now May. The coupons were supposed to go in April. And then all of a sudden, EQR Securities didn't have a phone number. He couldn't be contacted. And I went onto the internet to get onto their website, and everything had been taken down.
So the first amount I transferred was $59.74 or something as a trial run. And my bank did let it go through. And then the next day, I deposited $100,000.
Sirosh Kalapisi is 75 years old, and the way he tells the story reflects a methodical, careful person trying to do everything by the book. He entered his details on the comparison site. A man called him claiming to be a NAB account manager, and Sirosh ran a small test transfer first to verify the account was real. It cleared. So the next day, he sent $100,000, and that morning, CBA called him at 8 o'clock to flag the transfer as suspicious. He authorized it anyway, but something had shifted, because his next move was to call the scammer back and ask for a physical address.
I just casually asked him his address. And because it was a Sydney number, he said George Street. I said, okay. I said, look, I'm here. I would like to meet you. And of course, he said, don't worry, I will email you the address. And I waited for half an hour, and I didn't get the address, so I knew I was duped.
He called the police immediately. He called both banks on the same day. He tried to stop the transfer before it settled. It still went through. The money was gone before he'd finished making the calls to get it back, and that's a detail about how these operations are structured. The transfer windows are exploited deliberately. The lag between authorization and settlement is factored in. By the time anyone in the legitimate system responds, the funds have already moved somewhere unreachable.
Let's start with the URL. Obviously, a normal company, their URL would be www.companyname.com, usually .au in Australia.
So with the URL, what we would see there is changes in letters, where you would use a K instead of a C, you would use hyphens, perhaps full stops. They can't use the legitimate URL of that company, so they have to get something that is close to it.
Next tip is to closely examine the contact page. What is the red flag about a Proton Mail email address?
With that particular service there, it's often encrypted and it's an anonymous way to communicate. So once again, a legitimate business just won't be using that.
How about a 1-800 number? What does that tell you?
1-800 numbers, once again, whilst they have a legitimate use, they are associated with fraud.
If there is no address on the contact page of the potential investment you're looking at, what would you recommend people do?
You need to know who you're dealing with. So you shouldn't be sending money to somebody that you don't know and that you cannot identify.
These sites are polished. The license numbers are cloned from real companies. The account managers are patient, reportedly willing to spend months cultivating a single target if the payout justifies it. And at $750,000 per hit, the math is clear. But there is one number, one single data point that should function as a full stop for anyone who encounters these offers.
The reality is they pay about 0.5 to 1% per annum. Most of the scams are offering you 5.5. So straight away, if it's anything more than 1, it's a red flag and you need to stop.
Is it too good to be true? It's a really good litmus test for identifying these types of scams.
These victims have so far failed to get their money back. Police are pleading with everyone to be suspicious.
5 times the real rate. That's not an investment opportunity. That's bait, dressed in a cloned license number, a polished portal, and a British accent on the other end of the phone. As of the broadcast, none of the 3 victims, Michelle, Jody, or Sirosh, had recovered their money. No arrests or charges are confirmed in the available reporting. The named sites, EQR Securities and Savings Connection, were publicly flagged by authorities, which protects the next potential victim but does nothing for the 3 people who already lost a combined $1.35 million to an operation that used Australia's own regulatory infrastructure as camouflage. The website was there. The license number checked out because it belonged to someone else. By the time anyone looked hard enough to find the seam, the whole operation had dissolved. Michelle Lowry did everything right. She searched carefully, she verified independently, she involved a professional, she used a legitimate bank transfer, and she still lost the savings she was counting on to raise her children and rebuild after losing her husband. That's the part that should stay with you. Somewhere, the man who called himself Will Hughes is still available to answer a phone. Still patient, still British accented, still willing to spend months on a single target if the number is right. If you are researching bonds or term deposits and something online is offering returns above 1%, walk away. Check the ASIC register directly through the official government website, not through any link the company provides you. And if you ask to meet them in person and the address never arrives, that's your answer. Links to official Scam Alert resources are in the description below.